Truth be told, Chapter 5: Marriage, Motherhood, and Everything in Between. Let's be honest, nobody prepares you for the emotional gymnastics of trying to be somebody's wife and somebody's mother and still be yourself. That could be a trilogy. I walked into marriage thinking it was going to feel like a safe house, a place where I could finally exhale after a life of instability. What I didn't know was how loud your childhood wounds get when you're in close quarters with someone else's trauma. Marriage is not a fairy tale. It could be a mirror, and that mirror doesn't lie. We were in love, and also I was low key struggling. When we got married, we weren't rich. We weren't even stable. We were grinding. I was praying, patching together bills, smiling in public, so I couldn't break in private. You ever had to figure out how to feed your babies, keep your phone on, and not lose your mind all in the same week? That was my reality. And I know we romanticize struggle love in the culture sometimes, like ride or die, hold him down, hold her down, build from the bottom. And I did all that. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes you hold someone down so long that you forget how to hold yourself up. Motherhood hit different. When I became a mom, it opened me. It opened my heart. It opened my mind. I remember holding my son for the first time and thinking, wow, this is bigger than me. This little person looking at me like I'm the entire world, and I don't even know who I am yet. Then came the diagnosis: autism. That word came in like a storm. I wasn't ready. Not because I didn't love my child. I loved him with everything in me, but because I felt so unprepared. I had no blueprint, no language, no community to help me through that. It was me, God, Google, and grit. And on top of that, I had a marriage that was starting to crack under the pressure. Trying to be a good wife, a good mom, a good woman, while falling apart inside. I was exhausted, smiled in pictures, cried in the bathroom. I was cooking dinner and feeling invisible. I was pouring into everybody and nobody noticed I was empty. This is where a lot of women, especially Black women, break silently. We've been conditioned to be strong, to keep it together, to not complain, to wear a cape. But I was drowning in expectations I never agreed to. And to make it worse, I didn't feel like I could tell anybody because vulnerability could feel dangerous when the world already thinks you're built to endure everything. Then came the breaking point. I started to notice things, but kept quiet. We drifted. Love started to turn into obligation. And one day I looked around and realized I was married, broke, emotionally starved, spiritually depleted. I was alone. The scariest thing wasn't the thought of being a single mom. The scariest thing was realizing I had abandoned myself trying to keep everyone else whole. The bright side: I made a choice. I chose me. Not in a selfish, forget everybody kind of way, but in a life-saving way. Because when the foundation starts to crack, you either rebuild or it all comes crashing down. And then I was a single mom. That part. Nobody celebrates you when you walk away from something that looks good on paper. But being single doesn't mean being broken. And being divorced doesn't mean you failed. It means you had the courage to stop doing, stop bleeding for a life that no longer fit. I had to rebuild. I had to rebuild from scratch. Emotionally, financially, spiritually. It wasn't easy. It was lonely, but it was mine. I showed my kids what it looked like to stand tall even if your knees are shaking. And let me tell you something. There's a freedom that comes from choosing truth over appearances. A real life tool. The check-in that saved my life. Sometimes we don't know we're drowning until we stop to breathe. I started asking myself these 5 questions. Honestly, no filter, and they changed the game. Am I happy or just familiar with this life? What do I need that I keep pretending I don't? Who am I outside of my roles? Mom, wife, provider? When was the last time I felt like me? If my daughter lived like this, would I be proud of her heart? Would I be proud or would I be heartbroken? Answering those questions helped me reclaim my power. You don't owe anyone your silence, your sanity, or your soul, not even in the name of love. You can lose yourself trying to hold it all together, but you can also find yourself in the pieces. There's life after the breaking, and not just any life, a life that fuels and feels true. Stay tuned for chapter 6.